actively working as a consultant, trainer, and coach, helping other organizations improve their performance and achieve their goals. Furthermore, we are confident that his expertise will make this session insightful and highly valuable for all of you. With that said, I would now like to hand over the session to Mr. Usman Mazhar. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We hope you find the session engaging, informative, and beneficial. Over to you, Mr. Usman.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I hope that everybody can hear me and I'm audible. If you can just let
Yes,
me
you're
know.
audible.
Okay, thank you. Okay, welcome to this KPI Fundamentals webinar. As given the introduction for myself, I will introduce myself also later on. But I have a very short time right now. I have like around 45 to 50 minutes to cover this subject with you. A subject which has, kind of perplexed me and has always intrigued me and intrigued that interest inside of me in my last more than 15 years of experience with operational excellence. So I'm an operational excellence professional into Lean Six Sigma and Kaizens and continuous improvement. But whenever I look at any organization, when we work on for the operational excellence, I find that these organizations are confused, if not lost, about their KPIs. Because some of the organizations, they think that all the metrics that we are measuring are KPIs. Everything is a KPI, from sales number to revenue to number of visits and everything. So there are so many KPIs in the organization that we don't know which KPI to act upon. And similarly, then we see organizations which have defined KPIs in a way which do not allow them to take actions on those KPIs. I mean, my KPI is giving me a result. My KPI is giving me some kind of information, but I'm not able to take any action on that KPI. So what are these KPIs? And based on my experience over the 15 years and what I've studied and what I've seen, I'll share my experiences with you and try to make this as simple as possible so that you go back after these 45 to 50 minutes understanding what are the fundamentals of KPI, what differentiates a KPI from the other metrics, what makes a metric a KPI and what makes it not a KPI, and what are the characteristics of those KPIs as well, right? So there are organizations, as I said, they have metrics that they're measuring everything. And then there are metrics which allow them to play around with those numbers as well. For example, you look at your body, you look at your health, right? And in your health, in your body, if I say that my objective is to be healthy, my objective is to be healthy, what is the most basic thing that we look at if you want to measure the health of a person, or if you want to see that this person is living a healthy lifestyle, right? It would be the weight of the person, most probably. That I want to see the weight of the person, the BMI of the person, that how weighty that person is. Is that person slim? Is that person not very slim? Is that person overweight or underweight? So that will give me an idea about their healthy lifestyle, right? Now, if I take weight as a KPI and I start measuring that KPI every day or every week or every month, whatever the frequency is, what do you think I'm going to do? It's going to tell me that how my weight is going. True. But it does not tell me that what actions I need to take in order to improve my weight, right? So if I want to reduce my weight and if my KPI is the weight of the body, then I can do different things. For example, I can starve myself, I can stop eating food, I can take supplements which can reduce my weight, and I can do all these kind of shortcuts which would allow me to achieve that target while compromising on the quality of the work that I'm doing, right? So this tells me that the weight of the body or the weight of a person is not actually a good KPI. Why? Because it allows me to play around with that number. It allows me to, game that number and try to achieve that number through other means, which might not be very good for me in the long term. So that means that KPIs are not just results. They're not numbers at the end of something. KPIs are much more than that, right? Similarly, if you look at a hospital, if my KPI is the average time the patient takes to be treated in a doctor's office, right? If my KPI is the average time that a patient takes to be treated in a doctor's office, then the doctor would try to, check that patient and get that patient out of the office as soon as possible, because I want to cover as many patients as possible in that day, and the time that I'm putting into that patient should be as less as possible. That would compromise on the quality. So my KPI in this case is not a very good KPI because it is driving actions which are compromising the quality of the organization. So you understand that KPIs are not just numbers that I'm measuring. They should be taking care of the quality, the cost, and they should allow me to take some kind of an action in order to steer through my or navigate through my path or my journey towards the success of my organization. Right. So let's move forward. And if you have any questions, you can always ask in the chat. And then I will open the WhatsApp group as well at the end. So you can have any questions at the end of the session, you can ask, right? So let's move forward. And my introduction, my name is Usman Mazhar. As I was introduced, I have been working with operational excellence for more than 15 years. I have experience in Lean Six Sigma with different organizations, multinationals, and working in the GCC and in other countries as well, trying to focus on helping the organizations to improve their operational excellence and their operational outputs through Lean, Six Sigma, and KPI implementation or continuous improvement implementation. I have been doing this for the last more than 15 years in the different capacities, and I've been working as a consultant and a trainer as well. Recently, I delivered a KPI training for 2 days in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia as well in December. It was a good experience, and I'll be sharing some of those lessons with you here also. That's just my brief introduction for you. What we will be learning today, what is a KPI truly? How do I define a KPI? What is that true right definition of a KPI? I mean, if you open the book of a KPI, you will find a lot of definitions. But we want to simplify it. We want to make it as simple as possible so that at the end of this session today, you go home or you go back to your office knowing that what exactly are KPIs, and you can start looking at your organization in that way. Then we have what makes a KPI a good KPI or a bad KPI. What is that, a good KPI or a bad KPI? What is the difference between the two? Number three, what are KPIs? Are they just numbers or do they have more meaning to that? How do you report KPIs? What does the reporting actually mean? What is the clarity and the complexity in the reporting of the KPIs? How do I make my KPIs more meaningful and action oriented? And finally, what are the common KPI mistakes that we make in order to define those KPIs or that we do not take care of so that our KPIs do not make sense to us? Because we don't want a report card at the end of the year which tells us that how we have done, right? It does not allow us to take any actions. It does not allow us to do anything which can change the course of our action. So our KPI should be a living number. It should be a number which is telling us continuously that what we need to do and that something requires our attention. And so that is an important thing that we need to remember, right? So what is a KPI really? So I want you to participate as well, and you can type in the chat. I have muted you all so that at the end of the session I can open your mics. So if you have any questions, but right now you can chat. What is a KPI really? What comes to your mind when you think about a KPI? Right? It's a number. It's a metric. You're measuring something. It's a result. Right? Anything that tells you how well you're doing in the performance of the organization as well. So feel free to write in the chat as well that what you think, what is a KPI really, right? If I share with you in 2 or 3 lines, a KPI is something which is a strategic signal, right? Because we measure a lot of numbers and metrics, but how many actually tell you whether the business is succeeding, right? Because I want a number which tells me that my organization is actually doing good, right? I want to see that my organization is actually doing good. So it's a strategic signal, right? Yes, broken down, rather condensed navigational maps. Very nice. Something to measure performance. True. KPIs are numbers that help you understand how well a team, process, or company is doing its important work. Very right. But do I need to look at numbers? You have to differentiate between the two, right? It's not just numbers. It's just not a result at the end of the year. Because then I cannot do anything. What has happened has happened. I can't do anything about it. If I failed, I have failed. If there was a low performance, there was a low performance, and I've lost my profits or I've lost my customers, right? If a KPI tells me at the end of the year that I've lost this many number of customers, they are gone, right? And my brand is affected. So the KPI should be a living number, which allows you to take some kind of an action. Remember that difference. That is just not the results. It's much more than that, right? So why KPIs matter, right? Before we go into what is a KPI, we need to understand that why KPIs are important. Number one, KPIs give you a strategic focus. Remember this. KPIs are not just numbers of every day. These numbers should be connected with the strategy of your organization. they should be connected with the strategic objectives of your organization. The strategic objectives which are important to the CEO or which are important to the department heads. Something which tells me that things are not going right or wrong, right? It is just like you're driving a car, or you're flying a plane, or you have a ship on the sea or the ocean. Car example is more common example because most of us all drive. So when you have a car, right, it has a set of indicators in the dashboard for you, right? It's a drive performance improvement. So you have a set of indicators on your dashboard, right? What are those indicators telling you? If those indicators are just telling you that what is happening at the end, once you have driven the car, what use is that? Or what advantage is that for you, right? The advantage comes if those indicators are telling you how well your car is performing right now, right? So you have the indicator which tells you the temperature of the engine. You have an indicator which tells you how much fuel you have. You have an indicator which tells you what average you are doing against per liter, right? You have an indicator which tells you that how many rotations of the engines are going on, you know? So all these indicators are there on the dashboard of your car, which tells you, which helps you understand that how well your car is performing, right? So just like the indicators on the car, just like those numbers on the car, you need indicators which tell you that how well your organization is doing. So strategic focus, performance visibility. It allows you to see the performance, how well you're performing against a certain target. Similarly, accountability. KPIs must have somebody accountable. You cannot have a KPI without ownership, right? And similarly, you have data-driven decisions. So a KPI should be driven by data. A KPI should be based on data. So these are important things that why KPIs matter, because it gives you a strategic focus. It allows you to see and the performance against those few strategic objectives in your organization. And similarly, it allows you to see the performance visibility very clearly. It allows you to make data-based decisions, and it allows you to put accountability and to connect the accountability and the actions for the KPIs. So this is why KPIs matter, right? Now I have a question. These are some of the numbers here. And if you have already attended my session or workshop, I want you to not answer this question right now, right? So, because I can see a few people who are attending who have attended before, that's good. Is this a KPI? Achieve 90% production target for the month. Is this a KPI or not? What do you think? So you have to participate as well so that, we can go. Achieve 90% production target for the month. Is this a KPI or not? Yes. Or I show you another number of sales visits per day. I show you a number, which is percentage of employee turnover over last year, right? This is an HR KPI. So, and then you have another number, which is number of deliveries currently late by over 2 hours. Which one of them is the right good KPI? One answer. Number one, number two, number three, or number four? Which one? And why? So these are four options in front of you. Which one is a KPI? What do you think? Before we go into the definition, I need to understand your understanding about this. So which one is a KPI? I need some answers. Number one, okay. And who else? Number three, number two, and number two, number of sales. Why are you saying number two? Because that is one of the most common metrics, or one of the most common. Number four, sales visits per day is one of the most common metric which is measured by sales companies, right? Sales visits per day. How many sales visits did you do on that day, right? So, and that is why most of you have answered number two, right? And because that is a metric which is measured. But I have a question for you. Sales visits per day, is that an indicator of how well I'm doing against my strategy? Or is it just an activity? Is it just an activity that I'm doing to achieve the sales? Or is it a result? Is it an output? Is it an outcome? It's just an activity. So remember this, you can measure activities, but measuring an activity is not a KPI because it does not tell you what is happening, right? So similarly with number three, employee turnover last year. This is the past result. The past result does not allow you to take any action, right? Number 4, the number of deliveries currently late by over 2 hours. Now, this number allows you to take some actions, right? This number allows you to take some actions in real time. You can see that the number of deliveries which are late by the last by over 2 hours, right? Yes, Farhan, you're absolutely right. That the number of deliveries currently late by over 2 hours allows me to see that what is going wrong, what actions I can take, and I can take some actions to improve this, right? So this is actually the ideal KPI. This is actually the ideal KPI. And this is what a definition of the KPI is also, in order to make you understand, right? A KPI is not a past result, not necessarily. A KPI is not the measurement of an activity. A KPI is not a target, right? Because this first example is a target, achieve 90% production target for the month. What is wrong with the first one? What is wrong with the first one? Achieve 90% production target for the month. What is wrong with the first one is that it's a target, not performance. Very good, right? It's a target, and it's not a performance. Yes. So you see, a KPI cannot be a target, and that is a mistake which many organizations make, right? That is a mistake which many organizations make. That KPI, it's not a target. It's a measurement of performance. Number of deliveries. Now, this last KPI that we have, number of deliveries currently late by over 2 hours. Actually, this is a real life example from British Airlines, British Airways, right? The British Airways CEO wanted to see one number, which can allow him to look at what is going wrong or right. And one KPI which that CEO of the British Airways used to see was the number of planes which are currently late by over 2 hours. The number of aircrafts anywhere in the world which are currently late by more than 2 hours. So what would allow that CEO, what would that KPI allow him to do? If he would see that a plane at any airport in the world is late by more than 2 hours, he would be able to talk to that airport manager, and that airport manager would then mobilize his teams of engineers and the caterers and all the other support teams would be driven by that one KPI, that to get that plane off, to get that plane, flying, and the flight to be not late further at any airport, because the more late the flight is at the airports, the more charges you will face as an airline, right? So your KPI should allow you to take actions. Your KPIs cannot be targets. Your KPIs cannot be past results. Your KPIs cannot be activities, right? So that, and I hope you're writing this down. Yeah, I hope you're writing this down as well, right? So I will share this presentation with you, but what I'm saying right now might not be there in the presentation, right? So I hope you're taking your notes as well. So a KPI, look at KPI. The word KPI tells you a lot. Just thinking, does this mean 2 hours delay is an acceptable norm? No, it's not. It's the threshold. It's a threshold that the organization has defined for itself, that if 2 hours is fine, but more than 2 hours, we have to be, that's a red alert, right? So you can have some kind of a precautionary alert as well as yellow level, 1 hour, 2 hours. So it's up to the organization. Targets are defined by the organizations based on your business. So your business, you can afford 2 hours. I cannot afford 30 minutes. So that depends. But the thing is that what kind of an indicator do I have? Does it allow me to take any actions? So KPI stands for key performance indicators. The first word that I want you to focus on is performance, right? It's performance. Performance against what? Performance against what? When we talk about performance, performance against what? Expectations. Expectations. You cannot measure expectations, right? What are the things that you measure in the organization? Strategy. Well, strategy can also be vague. What are those things which all of you have in the organizations against which you are measured at the end of the year? Come on. Target. No. Target is also different. Targets are also different. What are those things that you are goals? Exactly. Thank you very much. Goals and objectives, right? All of us have objectives. You can't be working in an organization and you'll say that you don't have objectives and goals. You all have goals and objectives, right? So there's a goal, there's an objective, and there's a KPI, and there's a target. So learn to separate these three things. There's a goal, there is a KPI, and there is a target. The target cannot be the KPI, right? And the KPI cannot be the goal. Understand? So it's just like giving you an example that health. My objective is that I want to be healthier this year. My objective is that I want to be healthier this year. That's a goal. And what would be the KPIs? The indicators, which is the second thing, which is here, which is the second thing, the indicators. Now remember that KPI does not say that it is a result. It is not a result. It's an indicator. An indicator is like a dial in the airplane. It's like a dial in the car, which tells you how you are performing right now, right? How you're driving and how well your engine is performing right now. So similarly, you want indicators which tell you that how well the engine of your organization is performing, right? So if your goal is to be healthy, so your KPIs should be what? Your KPI could be your blood pressure, it could be your sugar levels, it could be your cholesterol levels, and these are all the things we get medically checked as well, right? These are all indicators which indicate to me that how well my health is doing right now. And I can take actions to make that better. So I can improve my blood cholesterol, I can improve my blood sugar, I can improve my other indicators of health by exercising, by diet plans, and by everything, by a healthy living lifestyle, so that I'm more healthy. And the targets are for the KPIs, that my blood pressure should be at this level, that my cholesterol or my sugar level should be at this level, you know? And that is why if you look at a medical report, it will tell you that the sugar level should be in this range, and this is where you stand. Your cholesterol should be in this range, and this is where you stand. And those are the examples of KPIs. Those are the examples of KPIs. So a KPI is an indicator. It's like a dial. It tells you that something is not right. And I know exactly what I need to do to improve it. The third thing is the key, the word key. That means that not every performance indicator can be a KPI. It has to have something special, something important. And what is that? It is connected to the organization's main strategic objectives. It is extremely important that your KPI is aligned and is connected with the main strategic objectives of the organization. So every indicator in your organization cannot be a KPI. It has to be connected with the strategic objectives which are important to the CEO, which are important to the department heads, which are important for business directions, right? Because you have so many metrics and indicators in the organization, it's difficult for you to measure everything, right? So the definition that changes everything. What is the definition of the KPIs at what we have discussed so far? And that is achieve 90% production, right? 90% production, achieving 90% production is kind of a target. It's a target. It's not KPI, right? It's not KPI, right? Yes, that's a target to have 8,000 steps a day. And the KPI is that are you walking or not? And if your walk for that day is done or not. So if you're supposed to walk 8,000 steps a day for 5 times a week, then you're measuring that. But your target is 8,000, right? And your objective is health. So I hope you're writing this down as well, right? And because I don't have that much time with this webinar right now that I open the whiteboard and write everything for you, but I really hope you're taking notes. And if you have any questions later on, you can ask also. So what is that definition that separates it all, right? That definition is that you have to ask that this metric that I'm measuring, is it connected to a strategic goal? Is it connected to a strategic objective? Number two, does it tell me, is it an indication of how well am I doing? Am I winning or am I losing? And number three, can someone take an action based on it? Can I take an action to improve what I'm doing right now? Can I take an action to change my direction? Can I take an action to be better in achieving my objectives? If I cannot, then what good is that number to me, right? It's not a KPI, right? So these are the three important things you have to remember. And so the definition of a KPI, a key performance indicator, is a quantifiable measure used to evaluate how effectively an individual, a team, or an organization is achieving a critical business objective, right? So I hope you understand that. Every word matters. The key means that not everything is a KPI. It has to be connected to those major strategic objectives. Number two, it is a performance. It is not an activity. It is how well am I doing right now? It's not just activity, right? So if I say I have to walk every day, that's an activity. So I can walk for 1,000 steps, 2,000 steps, but that does not matter. My target is to be defined. An indicator, not the goal itself. It's not the goal itself, right? So if my KPI is a goal, for example, if my KPI is to complete 8,000 steps every day, then I can just hold my phone in my hand and start moving it like this, and it will give me 8,000 steps. I'm not actually walking, right? So I'm compromising on the quality. So you see, when you set your KPI as the target, right? When you mix two things, and I'll show you more examples on that, people can fool around with that number. People can fool around with that number. And we don't want that. So, what are the characteristics? The anatomy of a good KPI. Number one, it is aligned with the strategic objectives. Number two, it is measurable. It is easy to measure. And number three, it is time bound. I know when to measure it. And number four, very important, it allows me to take some kind of an action. And number five, it is visible and communicated clearly to those who are responsible for moving it. So these are the characteristics of the KPI. Number one, it is strategically aligned, it is actionable, it has an ownership, it is visible, it is measurable, and it is time bound. These are important characteristics of the KPI. Now, coming to the example of targets and KPIs, that's what we have discussed so far, right? The targets and KPIs. What is a target? As I've said, if my target is to, if my KPI is to reduce my weight, by 10%, by reduce my weight by 20%. If that is my KPI, is that a good KPI? If I say my KPI is to reduce my weight by 20%, right? So I'm going to measure my weight every week or every month. Is that a good KPI? No. Why? Why is that not a good KPI? So far, it's a target. It's a target, and I can play around with it. Can I play around with it? Yes, I can. I can go on a starving diet. I can go on some kind of unhealthy measures, which will reduce my weight, but it will compromise on the quality. It will compromise on the quality. So you have to understand that there's a target, that there's a goal, there's a KPI, and there's a target. These are three different things, right? So a target is a defined desired outcome, an aspirational goal, an expectation, right? And it sets the benchmark for success evaluation. It drives the motivation. This is where we want to be. And it changes based on strategic priorities. My targets can change, right? As you said, if 2 hours is all right in order, 8,000 steps or 10,000 steps. So my targets can change based on strategic priorities. So here, an example is, sorry, as you can influence outcomes and play with it. Yes. So as you see, that here the example is our KPI is to achieve 95% on-time delivery. How's this as a KPI? Our KPI is to achieve 95% on-time delivery. I mean, and I'm sure you have looked at these kind of KPIs in organizations elsewhere as well. Because in my years, I have come across these kind of KPIs all the time, right? Our KPI is to achieve 95% on-time delivery. Is that a good KPI or a bad KPI? What? Bad. Why? Why is it bad? Why is it bad? Can doesn't tell the action needed. Because past indicator. Well, it's not a past indicator, by the way. I mean, because you can measure your KPI, your delivery percentage every day, and you can see that that delivery percentage is not going well, right? On-time delivery is not going very well. So you can do, it's not a past indicator, but it's a goal. And what can people do with it? Now, if you give people this target that you have to achieve 95% on-time delivery, what do you think they will do? They will start compromising on the capacity. They will start compromising on cost. They will try to get those trucks out as soon as possible. So if this was a KPI for your procurement, or if this was a KPI for your supply chain, they would try to get the trucks out or if this was a KPI for a delivery company, they will try to get their trucks out as soon as possible to make sure that they achieve 95% on-time delivery, right? But what will that do? They will compromise on capacity, they will compromise on quality, they will compromise on the cost. We need to assess the performance of those that were not delivered on time as well. We need to assess many things, right? And what could be a better KPI for this? Right? So we look at this one, measure current state, which is a KPI, objectively without bias. Provide diagnostic information about performance, enable course correction based on reality. It enables you to make a course correction. This is the difference between a KPI and a target. And the example is our KPI is on-time delivery percentage, right? Yes, they will jeopardize on the standards and they will jeopardize on the quality. They can do that. So here's a KPI. Our KPI is to achieve 95% on-time delivery. And on the other hand, you have our KPI is on-time delivery percentage, right? And you can have another KPI which tells us that on-time delivery maximizing capacity, right? So that they don't play around with the capacity. So you understand that your KPI should not be a target, right? So here, the example is our KPI is on-time delivery percentage, and the target is 95% on-time delivery. There's not much difference between the two. It's just the wording. But this wording can change the behavior. It's just the wording. But this wording can change the behavior of your complete organization, right? Because on one hand, they will try to compromise on capacity and cost and try to get the trucks out. On the other hand, they will focus more on achieving a certain percentage while making sure that the capacity is also there and elsewhere, right? So when we see that a KPI tells you where you are, a target tells you where you want to be. Confusing the two leads to distorted measurement and gaming behavior, right? What is a gaming behavior? That people start to play around with the cost, right? So people start playing around with the KPI. Sorry, they start playing around with the KPI. So a KPI tells you where you are, and a target tells you where you want to be. Confusing the two leads to distorted measurement and gaming behavior. Remember this. Do not confuse the two. Do not mix the two. Right? Because when you will have our KPIs on time delivery percentage, and you've set a target of 95% separately, you are measuring just on time deliveries. You're not measuring against that, you're not measuring that number all the time. And plus, when you will have this kind of a KPI, you will have other KPIs also for capacity and capacity utilization as well. When you look at the right side, our KPIs to achieve 95%, you will try to make sure that every day you try to achieve that 95% while compromising on the quality. On the left side, it will be just the percentage of on-time delivery which are happening while ensuring that the quality and the cost is also there. The target is 95%, the current is 87%. So you're tracking the trend of your performance, right? And it allows you to take some kind of actions as well. Here, 95% is set as a number. You don't make it, you have failed. And that is not a good feeling. And then people start playing around with that, right? It's just a example also that the difference between the two, do not mix the two. That is all. That is what I'm trying to say. And remember that example of the health as well, that for example, if your KPI is to, let's say, improve, if your objective is to improve sales, if your objective is to improve sales, right? And you make your KPI to the number of emails that you send out. If your objective is to improve sales, yes, you're absolutely right. So if your objective is to improve the sales percentage, right? And and you make your KPI as the number of emails that you're sending out every day, what is that going to do? I will just start sending out emails after emails after emails and try to show to my boss, look, I sent 500 emails today. But what was the result of that? I mean, how well is it performing? It does not give me the measure of how well I'm performing against that objective, right? So what am I saying? What is a sign of a good KPI? Number one, it should be aligned with your strategy. Number two, it is not the target. Number three, it is not a past number. Number four, it allows you to take some kind of an action, right? And number five, it's not an activity. It's not a measurement of activity, right? So let me write it down for you here. Right? It might come aligned with strategy. It is aligned with the strategy. Number two, it is not a target, and similarly, it is not a target. It is not a past number, right? Number four, it is not measuring activity, right? And what was the other thing that I said? And similarly, aligned with strategy, it is not a target, it is not a past number, it is not measuring an activity. And similarly, there was a fifth one as well that I mentioned. Decision taking. Yes, it allows you to take actions. Thank you very much. It allows you to take actions. I hope I've typed this right. So these are the 5 things you must remember. Aligned with strategy, it is not a target, it is not a past number, it is not measuring activity, it allows you to take actions, right? So this is a summary of what we have covered so far, right? So can you tell the difference between a good and a bad KPI? Here's a KPI, customer retention rate, target 90% by Q4. Target 90% by Q4. This is a good KPI. Why? Because it is specific, it is time-bound, tied to growth strategy, owned by customer success. It has an owner, it is connected to the strategy, it is specific, time-bound, and allows me to take action also, right? If my customer retention rate is going up or down, I can do something about it. Then on the other hand, we have number of meetings held. It is just measuring an activity, not an outcome, doesn't indicate progress towards any goal. It's just an activity. So if I start measuring activity, people will increase that activity and they will lose the focus on the output. On the other hand, we have another good KPI, which is revenue per sales representative, right? So target is $120,000 per month. Per sales representative, what is the revenue which is being generated? So I can take some kind of an action on this. I can ask why it is going down, or I can see why it is going up, and I can do something about it. On the other hand, we have brand awareness, which is very vague, which does not we do not know how to measure this. It's not very specific. It's not very time bound. It's not measurable. So brand awareness and these kind of huge numbers or big things cannot be your KPIs, because KPIs should be action oriented. KPIs should be action oriented. So remember these examples as well, right? So are you measuring what matters or just what's convenient? Because if you look at the organizations measure so many things, right? Especially manufacturing, services, supply chain, and similarly delivery companies, they measure so many metrics and it gets cluttered. So remember this, that there are different types of indicators which are out there, right? There are different types of indicators which are out there. And not everything is a KPI. Not everything is a KPI. And as I've mentioned before, that KPIs should be aligned with your strategy, right? So, and I'm also not saying, by looking at this diagram on, let me just turn on the pointer as well. By looking at this diagram here, right, what we mean is that I'm not saying that you should just have 5 or 6 or like 20 or 25 KPIs in the company and you should not measure anything else. No, there are many other kinds of indicators in the organization, right? And there are different types of indicators. There are KRIs, there are risk indicators, there are result indicators, there are PIs, there are RIs, there are PIs, there are KPIs. So these are different types of measures. I should be able to differentiate between them, right? I should be able to differentiate. But what is a KPI? KPI, I've told you, it is aligned with the main strategy, the strategic objective. The strategy is, I want to do this. We want to grow. We want to grow the market share. We want to grow into the other markets and everything. What is the objective that is going to allow me to achieve that strategy? And how am I going to measure that objective in a way that allows me to see how well I'm doing or performing? And in that, we have numbers of metrics. We have numbers of numbers. But out of those, the KPIs are just few of them, which are very important and which allow me to take actions in a way which are timely and also which are connected with the CEO. So as I've mentioned before, think of KPIs as the vital signs of your strategy. Just as a doctor monitors heart rate and blood pressure, not every conceivable thing in the body, a leader monitors the indicators that signals strategic health. So again and again, I'm focusing on one thing, that they are connected and aligned with the strategy. How well is your strategy? That depends on how you have defined your strategy. But the KPIs will just tell you that how you're moving towards your strategy. And that is the important part. Right? So the question to ask is, if this number is moved, if this number is changed, this number that I'm trying to mark as a KPI, would it change a decision we would make at the leadership level, right? If yes, it's a KPI. If not, it's just data. And you measure a lot of data in the organization. So again, if this number is moved, if I move this number, and would it change a decision we would make at the leadership level? Would it matter to the leadership? Would it matter to the CEO of the organization, like the British Airways example, or other examples that we have talked about, right? So this is the important question. So we are not saying that you cannot have multiple metrics in the organization. You can have a lot of numbers. You can measure activities also. That's not a problem. But you should be very careful that how many numbers you take as a KPI. Because if it's a clutter, if it's a lot of numbers, people will get confused what to focus on and what not to focus on, right? So let us move forward towards KPI reporting because we have very less time left. KPI reporting, it's very important. You have good KPIs, they're aligned with the strategy, and they're action oriented, but our reporting mechanism is not good. So what needs to be there in order for us to have a good reporting mechanism? Number one, it should show trends, not just snapshots. It should show trends. So you should have graphs, you should have some kind of a software or some kind of visibility of how the KPIs are performing. So it's very important, right? Because organizations can have good KPIs, but they don't report them in that way. They don't have a timeline defined also. Always show the target, how well we are performing against the target. Assign clear ownership. Who is responsible? Who is responsible for this KPI? And flag exceptions, right? Don't just sit there. Flag exceptions. Don't confuse. Don't write reports and reports and reports. And the situation is hidden somewhere in one of those pages, right? Don't bury them. Good reports surface what's off track immediately, not hidden on page 14 of a spreadsheet, right? So it's very important that once I've defined good KPIs, how I report those KPIs as well, right? So show trends, show against targets, have a clear ownership, and do not write fat reports or a lot of reports which can create problems from you as you move forward, right? So these are some of the characteristics for reporting of the KPIs. It's important who is measuring, what are we measuring, who will be reporting, how will they be reporting as well. All these things are important. So reporting frequency as well, as I've mentioned, and similarly, who will report and reporting to. So all these things need to be defined. I cannot report everything to everyone, right? If I'm a supply chain department head, I might not be interested in a finance KPI maybe, or maybe in an audit KPI or something. So do I need to be informed about that KPI? So what are we reporting? Who are we reporting to? And what is the data source? Where is the data coming from? Is my data authentic? Who is collecting that data? All these things are important. Maybe the data is fudged. Maybe the data is not right. And now we are living in the times of AI as well. So artificial intelligence is there to help you a lot with collecting that data and everything. And people should be very careful about the authenticity of the data that we are reporting as well. So the reporting red lines, some of the problems that we need to focus on when it comes to KPI reporting. Number one, 40 metric dashboard, meaning what? I mean, you have lots and lots of metrics reported in one dashboard, colors and numbers and everything, and people are confused. What do I need to look at? Similarly, vanity metrics, font and center. You're measuring things which are not important: social followers, reporting page reviews, website visits. These are all activities. Do I need to report them? Right? And I'm just reporting them for the sake of colors and showing off maybe, but it will confuse people. Number three, monthly reports no one reads, right? So the report comes at a time when I cannot do anything about it. So my report frequency should be aligned with the frequency of the urgency of that KPI, right? It should not be like monthly and monthly report. Nobody reads it. No one reads those monthly reports which come to us. You know that. I know that. So nobody looks at it because it is not coming at the right time. So the frequency of reporting should be right. It should have minimum numbers in there and it should be very clear and concise that what are we reporting, right? That is also important. Reporting red flags is an early warning as well as designed to prompt immediate yes, and that is what is needed in the organizations as it is outlined here as well, that you are measuring what is right. 5 things I've told you about KPIs, and then you know how to interpret that signal. The KPI is telling you something. What is it telling me? Is somebody analyzing it? Is somebody looking at the trends? Is somebody looking at the defects? Do I have the right way of measuring those trends? So interpreting the signal. And number 3, take action. So measure, interpret, and act. Measure, interpret, and act. It's very important that how we manage our KPIs. If one of these things are missing, then our KPIs are not complete. We should be able to measure what is right. We should be able to understand what it is telling us. And number three, we should be able to take some kind of an action in order to improve it. These are the three things which completes a KPI for us, which is very important, right? So, which is very important. So, what makes a KPI truly actionable? The threshold level, meaning, at what point does this KPI trigger a review or an intervention, right? Again, a target. Number two, the owner. Who is responsible for this? I'm saying that this owner thing again and again for a reason. I'm talking about these owners. I'm talking about these owners thing for a reason again and again, right? So the playbook. What are the two actions available? Now the KPI is not performing well, but I don't know what I have to do. My department does not know what to do, right? How am I going to improve this KPI? What am I going to do? So you should have that SOP defined. So the KPI is not just a number that you define, it's a number, it's a trend analysis, it's an action that you have to take. And your team should be well communicated what action they need to take, what trends they need to follow, and what is the red flag, right? And who is the owner? Who am I going to question? Who am I going to report to, or who am I going to reach out for this KPI? Organizations don't do this. Many organizations don't do this, and so people are confused. People have this number in front of them. It's very nice. I'm reporting it every month, but nobody is really interested because we don't know who owns it. And number two, we don't know what we have to do with it or what actions we are going to take for it, right? So that is also important. So similarly, the most common mistakes that we make with the KPIs. What are the most common mistakes that we make with the KPIs? Number one, the most important mistakes with the KPIs is number one, too many KPIs, no clear ownership. We have so many KPIs, and we have like 100 KPIs or something, 50 plus KPIs, and there's no real ownership out there. Copying someone else's KPIs. Now, this is something very common. Organizations, people look at, oh, what are you measuring? What is that competitor measuring? And I start measuring that as well. I mean, it's not important because your KPIs are aligned with your strategy, and your strategy might be different from the industry, right? So remember that there's no industry KPIs. There is no KPIs which are necessarily common for everyone in the industry. You could have a different strategy. So you can have similar KPIs and you might not have similar KPIs as well. So that is important. So no baseline or targets which are there. We have talked about it. Set it and forget it. So we have defined these KPIs. We went through this KPI exercise, very nice. And now we have these good KPIs which are there, but nobody looks at them. And after 1 year, 2 years, those KPIs are not relevant. Maybe those KPIs are not relevant. So means that your KPI is aligned with the strategy, and your strategy will need to be revisited. Confusing activity with outcomes. This we have talked about. Proposals sent is an activity. It does not tell me anything. But proposal conversion rate per week is an outcome. Outcomes drive strategy. Focus on results, not just efforts. We have talked about this as well. So these are some of the common mistakes that we make when it comes to KPI. I will share this presentation with you also. And what is a quick self-assessment? I put this poll in the LinkedIn as well. So I'll share with you the LinkedIn results also, although I just had 1 or 2 days, so I got very less response on it. But this is also based on a research that the most common thing that people see is a problem, is a barrier in their organizations with the KPIs is what is no defined actions. So the majority of the people are saying that we have the KPIs, we have some owners, but we don't know what we have to do in order to, when that KPI is not showing a good trend. So the actions. Or number two, the strategy link. The KPIs are just not linked with the strategy. My strategy is somewhere else, my KPIs are something else, and it's just two different words. And then number three, a no named owner or the ownership is missing, right? So if any of these resonate with your organization, you're not alone, and you are in exactly the right place to fix it, right? And this is the poll that I did on LinkedIn as well. And a majority of the people said, although there are just 14 votes, that there was no clear ownership in their organization. There's no clear ownership in their organization. So the ownership needs to be defined, and then we have the strategic link as well. And in my experience, what I've noticed is that the most common thing is that the KPIs are not connected with the strategy. And if even they are connected with the strategy, the teams are not communicated in that way. And therefore, we don't know who has the clear ownership, and we don't know what actions we have to take, right? So strategic link is extremely important. It's very important, right? Apart from the characteristics of the KPIs that we have discussed as well, right? So, and ownership is why ownership is not there, because the strategic link is not there. If that strategic objective is clear, we can assign ownership. But you will see when you define KPIs that a KPI can be connected to different strategic objectives. So you need to have a defined ownership, that who is the person who is going to take the ownership of this KPI, right? So this is what the people also said. So key takeaways, just to summarize what we have covered so far, because our time is getting up as well. And I want to leave some time for the questions if you have any. And what is that key takeaways from today? Of course, KPIs are strategic signals, not just data dumps. If it doesn't connect to a strategic goal, it's not a KPI. Good KPIs are aligned, they are measurable, they're owned and actionable. Number three, reporting matters as much as the measurement. Clarity, context, and the cadence determine whether KPIs drive change, the style, the structure, how you report it, and common mistakes are fixable, which I've shared with you. So with the right framework, you can fix those mistakes as well. You can fix those mistakes as well. So I will take them questions as well, but at the end, I would like to share with you that we will be launching a certified KPI developer program, inshallah, in 2 to 3 weeks' time. And the dates I will share with you in the next slide, which will be Wednesday on May 6th. The certified KPI developer program is the program that I covered in Saudi Arabia in the last December as well. It allows you to define how to connect your KPIs with the strategy. How do you align your KPIs with the strategy? A step-by-step process to design KPIs from strategy down. A hands-on case study. We will see templates of the KPIs. How do we define KPIs? A recognized professional certification also at the end. That how do you align your KPIs with the strategy? How do you define reporting mechanisms? How do you measure those, define that what is the right KPI and differentiate them from the targets and from activities from the past things as well. So this is a good opportunity and a good program, which we have delivered a number of times on site and online, and we will be doing this online. So this will allow you to understand further and go deeper into KPIs, that how do you actually develop these KPIs and achieve all these things that we have talked about in this webinar. Because in this webinar, we have very short time to cover everything. So your metrics to drive your strategy, let's make sure they do. So you can join the certified KPI developer program and transform the way organizations measure, right? It will be on Wednesday, which is the May 6th, 2026. And the timings are given below. You can join this WhatsApp group, or we will be sharing the registration form as well if you're interested. And those who are in this webinar right now, we will be more than happy to give you some discounts and also to help you with this registration of this program, that how do you align your KPIs with the strategy, and how do you define those right KPIs, what we have talked about so far as well. So I will close my session here at this time, right? And I will please share the presentation. I will share the presentation in the WhatsApp group. So these are some of the comment by one of our attendees, Mr. Hassan Hussain, who attended this certified KPI developer program. And if you have any questions, I will take that questions. Thank you so much for joining. It was very tight time that I had, but I have to finish it on time, so that because your time is valuable and you have to go back to your work or your important matters. So thank you so much for taking out this time and for giving me this opportunity to share these few learning points with you in order to define what is KPIs. And I hope that you have taken some notes as well. And I will share this presentation in the WhatsApp group for your information and for your benefit. And I invite you to really join the certified KPI developer training program, which will allow you to further enhance your skills in the KPIs, go deeper and align them with the strategy, and learn the methodologies of aligning them with strategies and defining the good KPIs through case studies and templates that we can use, inshallah. Right? So thank you so much. So if you have any questions, we can take those questions, because we still have 2 minutes left, 2-3 minutes left. Otherwise, what we are going to do is I'm going to open that group, the WhatsApp group that we have. And if you have any questions, you can share your questions in that WhatsApp group, and I'll be more than happy to answer. We will just keep it open for a day. and the WhatsApp group. I hope you're all in the WhatsApp group. So it is indeed. Thank you so much. So again, just to summarize, our KPI is not just any number. Our KPI is aligned with the strategy. It is not a past number. It is not a measurement of activity. It allows you to take some action, and it is not a target, right? It is not a target. And similarly, KPIs should be indicators. They should not be the goals themselves. They should not be the targets themselves. These are indicators, right? Uh, these are indicators. These are not the goals themselves, right? So these are indicators which allow you to see how well you're performing against your strategic objectives. It is very important that you learn how to define these KPIs, how to align them with the strategy, and also have those important KPIs for your organization. And all the metrics cannot be KPIs. It is important how we report these KPIs. What is the reporting mechanism that we follow? So, inshallah, I hope that I will see some of you or most of you in our May 6th program for the developing KPI program, so that we can get to learn that how we can align this with the strategy and further grow and see and truly implement it in our organizations as well. Yes, we have bad or good strategy, but KPIs do not let you define a strategy. In fact, you define the strategy first, then you have the strategic objectives. And from the strategic objectives, you have the indicators through which you measure the performance of those objectives. So actually, KPIs will just tell you how well you're performing against your strategy, whether it is a good or bad strategy. So yes, there is a good or there's a bad strategy. And that's a completely different topic or subject that we can cover sometime, right? So I think our time's up. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions, you can ask in the WhatsApp group. My contact number is also in the WhatsApp group, so you can message me as well. And I'll be more than happy to help you, to guide you, and to assist you in any way possible, because this is my passion. I love to do this. And Alhamdulillah, this is a summarization of years of experience that I have. So I hope that will be something important for you as well, right? Yes, in the next session, we will cover the how to align your KPIs with the strategy, how to build those right KPIs, right? So because the most important point that we learned here is aligning with strategy. So how do you align it with strategy? And then how do you develop those right KPIs, which are the true right numbers that could represent and that could follow the characteristics that we have followed in this session as well. So, and we will have some templates and we will do a case study as well, so that you can go back in the organization and conduct it yourself, and also align your strategies with your the strategic goals of your organization with the KPIs. Very important, because how much significance does KPI has in data analysis? Because see, you want to analyze the data which is meaningful or which tells you something. So KPIs are actually the indicators which are right now a living number and are telling you how well you're doing right now. So if you are analyzing those KPIs with those numbers, with those data, it allows you to take actions, right? That is what differentiates it. It allows you to take actions. Data analysis of the past numbers is also important, but it only tells you what has happened and probably what you can improve in the future. But with the KPIs, if you're doing a continuous data analysis and trend analysis and taking actions, you're not only learning what is happening, but you're actually continuously changing yourself also and trying to steer yourself towards success, right? So, so that is why our KPI developer program, which will allow you to align these strategies and everything with that, right? So we must know how to define those, how to align those with the strategy as well, right? So thank you so much for joining. And if there are no more questions, we can disconnect. And I wish you all the best. And I hope that it was a fruitful session for you. And I hope that you will join our next session on May 6th, which I have mentioned here, which will enable you truly define these KPIs in a practical way, align them with strategy, and also define those numbers and those metrics which are important, and follow the characteristics that we have studied here, right? Because it's a technical skill that you need to have. And we will talk about that technical skill in that session, inshallah. So I wish you all the best. And if you have any questions, you can ask me in the WhatsApp group as well. So I will disconnect right now, right? Thank you so much, and wishing you all very best. Thank you so much. Alhamdulillah, Jazakallah khair. And I wish you all the best. Thank you. And we will have the recording of this session as well. So I hope we will share that. When we can do that, we'll see. So in the WhatsApp group, I'll see if any questions you have, you can share in the WhatsApp group. Thank you so much. And to the team as well, and to all the organizers and all the attendees and the participants. And I hope that you take this learning with you and implement it as well. Right? Thank you so much.